Right.
Okay.
I'm gonna spotlight you. One of the things that women do to each other is spotlight other women. Right.
That's so nice. Hi everyone, and thank you so much for the invite. I've learned a lot since I joined. I was wondering why I didn't join in earlier. So much I must have missed, but thanks for the recording. I can always go back to look at it. And very nice to see a lot of women's explain women's explainer here. So good to kind of like click on individual names and just listen to them talk. I felt pumped and I felt more inspired. So thank you so much for inviting me here with my team.
You want to introduce your team, because first I want to make sure that I pronounce your name
I
right.
was,
Not be
I was
called
just
out on
ask
it.
for permission.
I just know you're all data scientists and researchers, but I don't know individually what you do. So tell us about AI Saturdays, tell us about your backgrounds, and then maybe we can open it up to questions whenever you're ready.
Oh, definitely. So my name is Tejumade Afonja, and I am the co-founder and co-organizer for AI Sustainable Lagos. It's a community of machine learning enthusiasts, researchers, students, and many other people. We're open to a lot of people that are interested in learning about machine learning and its many variants. So what we do and what we have been doing for 3 years now is that we do cohorts. We teach people machine learning through cohorts for 16 weeks, and we've held over 6 cohorts, and we're still going strong. Over the past 3 years, we've also grown as organizers, as into researchers, and have moved from my job as a front-end developer into full-time machine learning. I'm studying now at Saarland University in Germany for my master's in computer science. Previously, I have a background in mechanical engineering, which I studied for my bachelor's. And just like Swati said, the way you move with curiosity. I would say curiosity drove me into machine learning. When I remember that I was seated in a classroom during my second year as an undergraduate, I was studying. No, that's like as a normal thing for students. And I remember I was in a classroom again. There was a lot of activities. So I just remember they came to have a class, their regular meeting rather. And I didn't really know about them before. It was just a coincidence that I was in the same class at the same time. So I asked if I could sit because it was such a big pain to find somewhere quiet to read. So I was just gonna sit, allow them to do what they were doing. So they happened to be passing around the phone, talking about something called curiosity robots. And I was curious, just like the name. So it was about the same time that NASA had curiosity robots in space. So they passed the phone around, and it came to me, and I looked at the robots, and I'm not sure what happened. It was more like love at first sight, and I was just thinking, is it possible to build machine that can think? And that question stuck with me over my course doing machine learning, or I'm sorry, doing mechanical engineering. Even though I was studying for mechanical engineering, I kept thinking that there was something bigger. Like I wanted to expand my knowledge. I didn't want any restriction. I wanted to build machines and build intelligent systems. So that was my story. That was what drove me. And it wasn't smooth. Like but like I guess if I have to like say all of the story to take more time. So but I just wanted to I just really related with the idea of like going with your curiosity and then moving through your career, not like not waiting for doors or for stars to align. I can totally relate to all of those because most of my story is around that. And also AI Sustainable Lagos was born as a result of the fact that I wanted to upskill myself. And there was not a lot of community doing something as rigorous as that, having classes for 16 Saturdays. So we just started it around the same time that there was this global AI Saturday events that happen, and we registered to organize one in our community so that we also can learn. And we continue to run that. And I've definitely learned a lot with the people from, with my colleagues from AI Saturday. I've grown into an AI researcher through that. Also had a lot of sponsors, a lot of mentors along the way who would cheer me on behind the scenes. So my story is actually very related to everything that everyone has said. So thank you so much for sharing your story as well. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce my colleagues and friends from AI Sustain Lagos as well, and I'll invite them to talk about themselves. So today I have with me Oreva and then Tola. So Oreva, could you introduce yourself to everyone, please?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. First off, okay, yeah. So first off, thank you very much, Sudha, for giving us this privilege to come and share our story and talk about what we do. I mean, in the little time that I have joined, I have learned a lot, and I've also stories that I very much relate to. So I'm a research engineer at InstaDeep, and I specialize, or I'm very much interested in natural language processing. Yeah. So well, I got into machine learning through AI Saturdays. Actually, I have a background in marine sciences, which is quite unusual. And yeah, I remember sometime during my undergrad, I got this kind of interest in robotics. I was very curious about attending tech boot camps, and I attended one time, and then we introduced, like, just briefly to like IoT. I remember my team developed stuff, and yeah, I was very curious, and I was thinking about how I could apply that to marine sciences. Yeah. And I remember one time in class, my professor was talking about these problems with coastal waters in Nigeria, where there are like some invasive species there that prey on like fishes. And then we're thinking about how to solve this, and I did some research and was thinking about how to solve this. So around this time, AI6 opened, started in Lagos. I remember the first day going to AI6, I really did not know anything about ML. I was clueless. It was more about just, I think what I called it that day was just shooting my shot. And then if it wasn't for me, I would not go again. I was very clueless the first day, and I was just looking, and yeah, but I wasn't intimidated. It was quite challenging. It felt like, okay, I think I told myself, okay, I'm going to come again and see how it goes, and I'm tired, I'm going to stop. And I remember that I kept on coming, and yeah, things became easier. And yeah, fast forward to sometime that year, I got an internship with InstaDeep, and then after my internship, I got a full-time offer with InstaDeep, but I've been working in InstaDeep for over 2 years now. So at InstaDeep, I've worked on like different projects in different areas, but like mainly around natural language processing. So yeah, the journey has not been very smooth, like Teju said. Yeah, of course, it was quite challenging, like I must say, very challenging. I mean, I had sleepless nights. I had like very clueless moments. I had like a lot of struggle with like understanding the basic mathematics for machine learning, but I was very determined because I felt like I could do it. And yeah, and it's been great so far. It's been challenging, but it's been great. I think that's where the fun is. Just getting to build on what I know over time. Yeah, I think that's all about me. And yeah, I must say Teju has been she has inspired me so much, right from like my AI6. Yeah, and yeah, she's someone that has carried me along with her for like over 2 years now. Yeah, it's fun when you don't have to do things alone. It's great having people like her that show you, that believe in you typically. And I must say that a lot of times, countless times, she has done that and has pushed me and has spoken up for me. Yeah, and she has opened up for me too. Yeah, I think that's that's all I would say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. That was really something. Like I always say, I'm so proud of your growth, and really glad I'm just honored to be in your journey, like to know your story. It's such a privilege. So Tola, could you please introduce yourself so we get to know you more?
Hi everyone, good evening. My name is Adetola Adetunji. I'm a data scientist. Okay, so about the story of how I got into AI. When I finished school, I had different jobs, but I was not very satisfied with the jobs. So I knew I wanted to do something else. I wanted to do something better. So along the line, when I wasn't satisfied with my job, I tried something else and something else, and I continued to try. I knew I was going to settle for something I did not like. So I took up different jobs, learned different skills, and I was not satisfied. And I kept at it. And my parents were very supportive. I was not under any pressure to earn, just allowed me the process to grow. So I tried different things. So along the line, my sister told me about a Python program where I could learn Python. And I was like, okay, since I've tried different things, I'll just try this one too. So when I got to the program was the first cohort of AI Saturday. So I joined AI Saturday, and from the first class, it was just beautiful. I just knew that, okay, I think this is it. And that was, I think, 3 years ago. And since that time, I've not looked back. For now, I work in a bank as a data scientist. And I am glad that I did not stop. I'm glad that I continued to iterate until I got something that works for me. And I'm very grateful to be here. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Awesome.
So thank you, Tola. Yes, so glad to have you both here. And we've been on an interesting and exciting journey for the past 3 years. We've grown to become data scientists, to become badass researchers, to have the job we want. And I think that's actually one of the most important story, right? Not settling for whatever it is that you think you have right now, especially when you believe that you can do more and you can be more. So you just usually need often time, you just need to have the right people around you, the right support and the right community where you can feel comfortable exploring all the craziness in you. So without further ado, getting permission from Roxy or Sudha, would you like us to talk about machine learning, deep learning, or how would you like us to structure this? We are very flexible.
So you know a lot. I mean, if people have questions, we can actually go towards that. You know, we always hear about machine learning versus deep learning, and you all said, you know, you went towards deep learning. You said you fell in love with a curiosity robot and got introduced to deep learning.
I vote for that too.
Yeah, and then all of you have been working with deep learning. So help us understand. Give us a little bit technical detail, machine learning versus deep learning, and any resources or anything else you want to point is fine.
Okay, definitely. Yes. So I'm just gonna talk about machine learning. Like, I mean, I'm not going to assume any background here. So the way I understand it, and from me falling in love with the idea of machine that can think, is just how do we automate stuff? I'm a big fan of trying to make things faster or make it more automated. So machine learning is the ability or the way computer can learn without being explicitly programmed. So classical way to do things would be for programmers to to write a lot of rules and have the computer to do what they think it should do. But at some point, we scientists or researchers found a way that you can actually have a lot of algorithm to learn from data. And as we moved from a world where we did not have enough data to a world where we are swimming in so much data, it only made sense to have this algorithm figure out what the rules of the game is. And so machine learning is that idea of having a bunch of algorithms learn from data, and then you have some optimization, like some optimization parameter that you're trying to optimize for. Like you want to like an example that comes to mind is that if you have two like images, right? Like if you're trying to do something like reconstruct an image, you would naturally want to have like a goal to say that you want to make sure that the reconstruction loss, if I have this image and then I reconstruct this image, the loss is as small as possible, so that I can say that these two images are the same. So you need to be able to fit that into like a loss parameter, and then it becomes an optimization problem. So machine learning typically do all this stuff, but like some people get confused about what's now the difference between deep learning. So I just talked about image problem, right? So now like that was actually mostly a deep learning task, and you can think of deep learning as scaling classical machine learning 1,000 times X, whatever, depending on your compute. So deep learning learn directly from data. So you just have a bunch of little algorithms that you could have used classical machine learning to do. You put them on top of each other, you stack them together, and then they form a deep connection, like you call them neurons, and then there's a bunch of activities going on between them. So I hope the idea between that and like deep learning or machine learning makes sense to you. But a lot of people use deep learning these days because they are very powerful, and like I said, they can learn directly from data. You don't need to in classical machine learning, you usually need to have the features, like what would help the machine learn. You have to have some features written down and then pass it to the algorithm. But in deep learning, you can learn more about unstructured data, and you don't need to like put any rules or like put any decision in place to do that. So I would also like to throw some question to my colleague, Oreva, to ask her how, what are the deep learning application that she has interacted with, that she has found cool over the past few years.
Yeah, thank you for that explanation, Teju. Yeah, I think that's like, the explanation was like very, very enlightening. Yeah. Yeah, so personally, I've mostly worked on like NLP applications. So one that I'm particularly interested in is machine translation. So machine translation just involves translating like a text from one language to another, say from like English to German or from German back to English. Yeah, so like 2 years ago, I worked on this research problem with a colleague of mine, called it unsupervised machine translation from Pidgin to English. So what motivated this particular problem? So we realized that Google Translates, so first off, we realized that Google Translate have Pidgin in it, which was quite surprising because Nigerian Pidgin is a language that is well spoken by a lot of people beyond Nigeria, like millions of people, like people in West Africa, and then like a lot of people communicate in Pidgin. Actually, people type in Pidgin and speak in Pidgin and all that. Yes, we're like kind of wondering why this was so. So that kind of inspired us to work on this problem. And then for translation, or for instance, machine learning, like we have like different branches, the unsupervised learning and then supervised machine learning, where you have like your data and then you have like some labels that you want to map. So for supervised learning, you have like some data and then you have labels, you want to map your data to these labels. So for instance, you want to classify cats. So you have your data, like different images of cats, and then you have labels of whatever class they're in. Yeah. So and then there's unsupervised where you have to like probably just learn like some structure in that data because you don't have the labels like for the data. So at this time, there was so for machine translation, you need a parallel data. So parallel data simply means you have data in English and then you have the matching translation, the data in one language, we call it like your source language, and then you have like the matching translation language. And so the goal is to learn like some sort of mapping between these two languages such that when you introduce, when you feed like some data that your model was not trained with to it, it's able to translate it to like your target language. Yeah, so at this time, there was no parallel data because nobody was actually, I don't think anybody was thinking about working on machine translation for Pidgin. So we had to like scrape websites and we're able to get like monolingual data. So just data in different languages, but there were no matching translation. And then we had supervised technique to like achieve this. Performance was not very great given that we had very small data and then given some researchers opened this data set called the JW300, like a machine translation data that even covered when we got this data, we decided to like extend our work to like a supervised machine translation problem, and then we got better results. Yeah, so some other areas that I'm interested in is model compression. So I'm interested in NLP, low resource languages, and I think that it's counterintuitive that we build technology for low resource languages and then we have deployment issues because you want to think that some low resource have access to high-end devices. I mean, machine learning models could be very large. Yeah, so they might not have access to high-end devices to be able to deploy these models on. That's one. Two is you want to make your research reproducible. You want, I mean, a lot of off-the-shelf models these days are usually trained on like thousands of GPUs and all that, but not everybody has access to this. Some people just want to do small research and then just make impact. So to ensure that our research is reproducible by people that have like very limited access to compute, you want to like find smarter ways to like train models train models in such a way that it's low costs to train and also has low inference costs and like to like deploy. Yeah, so that's another area I'm interested in for low resource languages typically. So model compression. I see all of this as a way to bridge the gap between low resource and high resource languages. So we are improving representation learning for each of these languages. And then and then we're also thinking about the end goal, because I feel like the end goal of every machine learning problem or most machine learning problems is to deploy them. Yeah, typically we don't just want to build models and then just leave them, because how do we even assess that what we're doing, what is right here? So yeah, so that's about it. Machine translation and model compression. I feel like I also said too much, or maybe not.
No, that's really thanks for taking us through the journey of your research. I think for me it's really informative. I hope everyone finds it.
This is good.
So I'm just gonna maybe I think Sudha has you would like to say something?
No, I said this is good. So I would like to hear what.
Okay, definitely. All right. Before I also talk about my research interest and journey in researching, I wanted to learn from Tola as well, how she applies data science at work, because she's actually also working in the industry as a data scientist. So would you like to say something about your data science journey, like what you, maybe the tools that you use or you found a very important in your work? Tola, I think you're muted. I'm not sure if you're Tola, can you hear us? I'm not sure.
I can see her eyes moving, but I don't hear her.
Yeah.
I don't think she's talking. Hello, Tola. Okay. So I'm not sure. Maybe she cannot hear me.
Maybe
Anyway, yeah, maybe not. Oh yeah. Because she mentioned her internet is not great. Hello, Tola, can you hear me? You're on mute in case you're saying something.
Hi, Teju.
Oh, finally. Yeah, so I was just asking if you would like to say something about like how you've applied how you apply data science at work, maybe some tools that you found very interesting over the past couple of years, or tools you had to pick up to be a better data scientist.
Okay. Yes. So at work, majorly, I work on deployment. So I work majorly on deploying machine learning models. I use Azure majorly. About to work with Azure machine learning service, and it's been very interesting. Combined from moving from my experience, moving from working from AI Saturday, I've had to like do a lot of deployments, and it's been very interesting. Worked on some models at work. But I think one of the issues that we've had is the quality of data that we have at work. Yeah, so that's like the major issue that we've been facing. How to move from the kind of data we have to cleaning the data, deploying the models. But it's been very interesting.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, definitely. Data, it's one of those things where it's not the same as when you're learning with cargo data and then you're learning with real data. That's when you know things become things are real. You have to find ways to deal with those data. I remember recently I joined a conversation and someone was talking about how like people, like they think that data engineering should be one of the most important field, because how do you even handle data? And a lot of companies, especially on the continents, are not thinking about fancy or like crazy deep learning techniques. They still need to build the infrastructure of that pipeline of moving their data into the right storage and being able to learn simple things, simple connection within their data before like applying like all the very, very high powerful deep learning technique. And like Oriva also mentioned, one of the most important thing is like we don't have that much resources here in the developing world. We need to be able to compress all of this model, make them useful to our use case. And I think that's one of the reasons why I find our research and model compression super important, and also protecting low resource languages as much as possible. In my case, my research is in the line of privacy, security, and machine learning. You know, as I walked you through my journey, and I got excited about building machine that can think, and eventually realized that yes, indeed, we can build some machine that appears to think, but then a lot of these machines are not used in they're not really helping people like me. They are misclassifying us as monkeys. They see pictures of someone that is Black that wear a wedding dress, and they don't think it's a beautiful bride. They think it's a costume. So there's definitely a lot of problem going out there. Like we have to be able to understand the limits of these machines. And I think that those are like one of the things that drove my research interest into like privacy, security, and machine learning. So we kind of like probe this machine, trying to understand how secure are they? Like, are they easy to break? What are the attacks that can be mounted on this system? What are the possible defenses? We have to understand like companies, like researchers have responsibility that needs to be met. With this great power, we have great responsibility. So that's my research focus. And I work as a research scientist. No, I shouldn't call myself a scientist yet. I work as a research assistant in like part-time, my master's, and I also work. I over the summer I worked with a research lab in Canada with Professor Papernot. I still work with his lab on another project, but I work part-time on model extraction. I also work on the privacy in audio and in tabular data. So but for my community, because I wear different hats depending on where I am. For the community, I'm working on a research which I led, and we recently officially concluded the research. It's on accent translation. So the motivation is that we want to improve online learning experience through accent translation. I remember as a young girl, I had problem understanding the American way, the way they talk. So my sister, I come from a big family. My sisters like to watch a lot of American movie. And at some point they'll start laughing. And I would think that maybe it's something I needed to know, but I did not understand what they said. So I'll be like, sorry, what did they say? What did they say? So I can also laugh because it seems funny, right? But I didn't understand because it's very fast for me. Over the year, I got used to the way those movies. I finally were able to watch a movie without asking them what the actor said or something. But that experience, I never really forgot that that idea of the cognitive load of not being able to parse what's going on, or having to like rewind the movie just to understand what they said. So my team and I were thinking, would it be possible for us to be able to translate online material into accents that the user like they're interested in learning from? So here's the pipeline that we have in mind. Imagine you as a student from Lagos, like a young Teju like myself then. So I wanted to, there's a lot of online resources out there. But even though it's free and available, it's not accessible to everyone. So let's say for example, I was able to like access this online material, but it's given by an American professor. Can I have a link, like a button that just says that I can use it to, if I just toggle it, I can translate it into an accent that I'm familiar with without without the experience being like without this disrupting the experience. So the idea is that we would want to find the closest accents in our data bank that is very close to the speaker's accent in such a, but we are able to like translate it in a way that it sounds like the accent you're familiar with, but it's not exactly the accent. It's a very complicated problem, but it's not unsolvable, because there's a lot of research and a lot of research work on accent conversion translation, and it's still we were able to verify some pipeline, but there's still a lot of work to do. But I'm very optimistic about this project. It might take some time for the technology to catch up to make sense, but we think it's a really important use, especially for like if you're trying to solve HGD problems like accessibility, equal opportunity, right? We should not students should not be binded to like platform, like I don't have to learn in like English the way to, but like we should be able to access things if possible with the kind of technology that we have in a way that that does not add to my cognitive load. So yeah, so that's like the problem with that we're trying to solve within the community as a project, as a research problem. Can we provide online material, educational material in accents that the user is familiar with? So yeah, I just wanted to mention that one of the projects I'm super excited about. So that's like me. I'm interested in audio. I've been working on audio projects for like a year now, and I've really found it fascinating, and privacy and security. And community, I volunteer my time a lot. It's a lot of things. So yeah, community, definitely. I'm a big fan of that because I think we need to build more talent across the continent. And I think that it's just cannot happen by itself. We all have to do our part in bringing about the change that we want to see. So so that's one of the things we are trying to do. We're trying to give as much as we can and build the talent that is, we both technical, we understand the problem, and we can provide like we can be where the solution, like we are on the table, like we're making the decision together, you know, just saying that, oh, this is what it should look like. It's like, no, we understand the market, we know what we have better understanding, and then what do we need to make it successful? How do we collaborate on an equal level, not on some people from the West and then some people like are below? So I'm trying to see how can we move the bar almost, if we can. So yeah, that's my life research question. So
this is fantastic, Teju. I remember one thing I want to comment, and then I have a question for you. So one is, I remember when Aisha first came to my AI class, she basically came up with a project saying she wanted language translation for Hausa language, and that is spoken by a lot of people in Nigeria and that region. And then when they go to Dubai, she had an example of her aunt struggling because she spoke this language and there was no translation, and there were only 7 Western languages that was in the translation. So she kind of got obsessed with how do I get the translation engine, and she figured out, okay, there's no data set for it, and how do I go? And she kind of evolved her whole plans on what she wants to do. And one of the things she didn't mention when she was talking about her career pivot journey is she's in a Women in AI accelerator trying to build that. But coming back to you, I remember the very first time when we met, I think maybe a couple years back at IoTDay, you just came in because I had not met you. You were introduced, you showed up, and you were like this burst of energy, and you're still that. I love that about you. So I hear you and your the entire panel here talking about, as data science researchers, you want to frame data science questions and research that you can solve for. So I see, and from where you're coming, so the global South is not left behind, you know, I get that. I have a very basic question, and we are going to switch out of this super technical session, and we do have one with brilliant people from FI who are also, you know, CTOs who can talk to us about security on the edge. But we're going to switch the afternoon on the AI topic more towards AI ethics, no-code AI, and the like. So I have a basic question. Maybe somebody else in the room has that, but I'm going to come out and ask that because it might not be the smartest thing to ask. So when we talk about, when you come at it saying, I want to solve this problem, I'm going to go build this, I get that. But whenever we hear about there is bias in the data, it does not have this accent, it does not cater to this people and that, right? It sounds a little preachy for people to just say that. So I have a question. When I first met you, you had said something about how the data set, when you search in Google for food, it does not understand Nigerian food, right? So, and that prompted me to go see whether it knows samosas. And so and you were creating a data set of Nigerian food. You said, I'm just going to create an open data set and include it. And so it will be part of the search. And, I was like, oh, maybe we should go to Google. And the same thing you said, I'm not yet. So not yet seems like one of your career pivot hooks to kind of pull yourself up to a higher bar to your own standard. And you said that time. So my not so smart question, which I think I want to ask is it naive of me to think there are a lot of public data sets that's in use, they're biased, it doesn't understand samosas, it doesn't understand my accent, it doesn't understand some faces. Can we just populate it with more data which fills that bias? Is it as easy as that, or will it introduce bias further by doing that? Tell me, what is the hurdle in getting all the public data sets out there cleaned up to be unbiased to everybody's standards?
I don't think, the problem of bias, thanks for remembering about the projects we started, that was about 2 years ago, creating data set for African food, and we still have that project ongoing. And so it's quite interesting because yes. So ideally, we start with this question that it's actually started with a bias, like I mentioned in the talk, where the recognition tool could not recognize a certain food, and we thought that it's because we don't have enough data. And working with a couple months into the project, we also met other researchers that have curated some data by scraping a lot of data in different for the different images for the food. And coming back to your question, do we create the data from scratch, or do we just add more data to it and augment it? Did I get your question correctly?
Yes, you just augment with more data from other, just add it. It doesn't even have to be synthetic data. It could be genuine data that I have that is not in the data set. Can I just add it to the public data set? And
yes, I would think that, as a researcher, I don't think you should be researching things from scratch, right? A lot of people put work into creating that. There are genuine problems that those are really hard problems. We're trying to create data set for Nigerian Nigerian English, or we created a tool people can record. But I did my research to find if there are data sets out there already, and I found some data sets, and I was like, okay, how do we augment these data sets with what we have? The first question is where does this data set fail? And then how do we add more to it? It's not like, oh no, it doesn't have this accent, and then I'm just gonna go create one. It's not as easy as that in my experience. So I would always say that how do we use these tools? And that's where the things like transferred learning comes into place, right? Or things like having a pre-trained model. It's a lot. It's expensive. It's difficult. There's a lot of challenges out there. It's also having your own data does not mean that it's not biased. Let me give you an example. The tool that we created for the IoTDB, for the data that we're collecting, after collecting about 8,500 data, we looked at the data and we saw that none of them were from we did not collect any demographic from Hausa speaking people. So it means that the people within our network, a lot of them were Yoruba speakers, a few of them were Igbo. That is even within the local. We haven't even gone beyond Nigeria. We already have serious bias problem. So imagine we come and say we created this tool and everything, it can understand Nigerian English. That's, who are we kidding? It does not work that way, because we've excluded a very, very big part. So I was telling my team that we need to we run this data collection scheme, find friends, Hausa speaking friends, how do we get into their network? It's very obvious that a lot of the people within our network are Yoruba, because I'm a Yoruba speaking person. So it's disseminated around my network and my friends' network who are also Yoruba. So how do we move into that network? And I'm already looking at Aisha too, thinking of how to send, because I think you mentioned she worked on Hausa. As you mentioned, it's in my head. I'm already putting in mental notes. It's maybe we can collaborate on something on that. So I'm just saying that, I do not think one's attitude should be just like creating things from scratch. I think you need to learn where things break. You need to look at other people's work because they put a lot of effort into it, and how can you make it better? Not how can you just like no, this is not it, and then like we need to scrap it. That's not the way I view research, and I don't think that would benefit anyone. That would just create a lot of unfinished projects, because at some point you realize it's really hard, and then you're just gonna abandon it as well. So yeah.
Yeah, and I agree. I think the core of the programming is the extensibility of everything that you build, right? From code to data. If you build something and you know it can be extended, then we good to go. And how open it is and how secure it is a different topic, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I would like to follow up offline, because I hear that it should be extensible and that it is not, it is, you know, in spirit, it is better to define a new problem and start and go solve it instead of patching into the data. But I hate to admit, I still don't understand why I cannot just go patch an existing open data set. Maybe I'll follow up offline. Maybe you can teach me.
Yeah, something. I mean, to be fair, we need to think about like, if the goals are different and if the data set is fundamentally problematic, that have been like a lot of people have pointed it out, then patching it up it just does not make any, like, it doesn't make any sense, right? Well, if it is due to your inability to like research enough to find out that there is already some existing tool out there that you can have to, then that's a different conversation. So I don't think it's like one bullet fits it all, like one answer fits it all. We gotta look at the what we're trying, the problem, and then what state it's in, then use that to inform whatever solution we prefer. Yeah, but I'm happy to follow up afterwards with whatever you have in mind.
This is amazing. We have to wrap up. I feel so sad to say that, become the time cop, but this is amazing. So I always say whenever we do this IoT Day, we get to meet amazing women. I definitely will follow up, and maybe you can come talk in our week.
Thank you. I just quickly want to highlight Aisha. So thanks for sharing Timnit Gabriel, who is one of my very good mentors. I like to call her, I mean, she's my mentor. I hope she thinks I'm a mentee as well. Yeah, one of her work on data sheets for data set. I think it should be everyone's go-to whenever you're trying to like create new data set. I'm definitely learning, keep reading until I figure out like how to like, you know, provide solutions or tools that is useful for the community as a whole. Like, it's something you continue to learn, and you get it right, or you're satisfied with your own answer. So.
Okay, I just wanted to give the URL of that. That's a paper she has, right? Okay, yeah. Awesome.
Thank you.
So Roxy, how are we doing on time?
We are doing great on time. I can listen to all these ladies forever. And I think, Sudha, you should have a recommendation here. A day for everyone to give their long talk, right? Yeah. Half a day, marathon of 20 days a month.
Oh, we usually we used to do this live stream, like, we did 7 hours, and then we said, we're not going to do it like that. We are going to do more recording. Then we did recording. So for those of you who just came in today from morning onwards, we have been streaming recorded sessions since last night. Like, I'm in California. So my evening from 6 o'clock, when it became 9 o'clock in Singapore, we started streaming recorded sessions round the clock. So it is all in the same place where you signed up, bit.ly/IoT Women, and under the curriculum section, all of them exist, but we'll make sure when we share these recordings, they all are in one place. I want Susanna, if she's around, can you just tell us about Manpreet's data science and data engineer work, how she pivoted, because that's very relevant when we're talking to data scientists, and Teju says it is all about data, which is music to my ears. But tell us about Manpreet, your interview with her, because that interview is live if people want to watch it. Such an inspiring interview. But tell us about the data engineering pivot she did.
Manpreet Budraja, her background is in applied mathematics, and she, literally built a community around herself, by learning about data science and teaching data science to other people. But what was interesting to me was like she actually landed in a position called data engineering, which as a data engineer that I thought was really a new title. And from her only, I learned that data engineering is a new type of role that's coming up now, where you actually, the work that you do in data processing, data cleaning, and data manipulation as a support role to a data scientist. That's what data engineering is. And she kind of landed in that new role by herself by actually building a community around her. So you should actually watch her video. And the interview that I did with her, I think it was already live streamed, but it's actually on the website.
Okay, so here we go. I'm just sharing that. And I think she has I think Manpreet is just out of college, right? She's like
Yes,
just out of undergrad. Yeah, I think she's
masters. Yes, she just completed her masters.
yeah. And she also has a AIM YouTube channel. So she
Yes.
spoke about data science myth, which is very complementary to this panel that you heard here today. So if you have the bandwidth, go check it out. So with that, we should take a break for lunch. How much are you giving us? 10 minutes or 15 minutes?
We have 13 minutes before we have the edge, intelligence, and security.
Awesome.
So let us have a quick break. So Sudha, we broke our record. We didn't have any break today, and we're gonna continue until 4 p.m.
Yes.
Pacific.
So
Thank you so much, everyone. This is wonderful.
I want
Thank
to
you so much,
thank
everyone.
you, Oriva and Tola. You were amazing. You just, got us, you just set us on fire. So, it's very hard to break for lunch. But I'm going to stop my recording now.